Hello, my men. We've lived long enough to realize that no book, no article, no documentary ever truly teaches the world how to understand a man. It's sad, isn't it? But pause for a moment. Place your hand on your chest and ask yourself, how do I really feel today? Because beneath the silence we carry, behind the jokes we make, and under the habits we form, there is a truth we rarely say out loud. We're tired. We're worried. And for some of us, we're struggling in bed too. A few months ago, a man named George walked into my office. 67 years old. Retired mechanic. Still sharp, still strong. But when I asked him why he was here, he just sighed and said, "Doc, I don't feel like a man anymore." He wasn't talking about his muscles or his career. He was talking about the nights when his body didn't respond. The mornings when he avoided his wife's touch. The shame he carried without telling a soul. I asked him, "What changed?" He said, "Nothing and everything. I guess I'm just stressed." And that's when it hit me. Men over 60 often assume that aging alone is destroying their erections. But in many cases, the real villain isn't just age. It's stress, that silent, creeping enemy we've learned to ignore. See, George wasn't dealing with heart disease. He didn't have diabetes. He wasn't overweight. But he was carrying the weight of unspoken emotions. His wife had been ill for 2 years. His savings were slowly draining. And every night, he lay in bed with a racing mind and a body that just wouldn't cooperate. Erectile dysfunction isn't always about blood flow. Sometimes it starts in the mind. Anxiety, overthinking, guilt. All these things send chemical signals through the brain that tighten blood vessels, lower testosterone, and interrupt arousal. It's like asking your body to drive with the brakes on. No matter how hard you press the gas, you won't get far. And here's the scary part. Most men don't even realize stress is the cause. They blame themselves. They think they're broken. And worse, they stop trying. But here's the good news. Just like George, there's a way back. And it doesn't involve pills, expensive procedures, or giving up on intimacy. In this video, I'll show you exactly how stress hijacks your erection. From your brain, to your hormones, to your blood vessels. And then I'll walk you through how to fight back. Naturally, wisely, and with dignity. Because stress doesn't make you weak. Ignoring it does. So let's get real. Let's get personal. Let's take care of what matters most. Not just your manhood, but your peace of mind. Leave me your questions in the comments. Like and share this video if it speaks to you or someone you care about. And now let's begin. Stress in the brain, how psychological pressure disrupts your hormones and erection. When George told me, "I think I'm just stressed," he said it like it was nothing. Like stress was just a side dish to the real issue. But for men over 60, stress is rarely just stress. It's a chemical cascade that hits every system involved in sex, especially your brain. Let's start there. Because your erection doesn't begin in the bedroom. It begins in your head. When you're relaxed, your brain sends a signal to your nervous system to trigger blood flow. It's a beautiful, coordinated dance. Hormones, neurotransmitters, and blood vessels working in harmony. But when you're stressed, that entire process goes haywire. Here's what happens. When your body senses stress, your brain activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis for short. This is your body's ancient fight or flight response. It pumps out cortisol, the stress hormone, to help you deal with danger. But your brain can't tell the difference between a tiger in the jungle and a pile of unpaid bills. So day after day you're bathing in cortisol. And that's a problem. Because cortisol does 3 things that directly sabotage your erection. First, it lowers testosterone. Cortisol and testosterone compete for resources in your body. When cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down. And without testosterone, your sex drive, arousal, and stamina suffer. Second, it numbs your brain's reward centers. Normally, sexual arousal involves dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. But chronic stress dulls dopamine responses. You don't feel pleasure as easily. You don't crave connection like you used to. Even touch can feel flat. Third, cortisol disrupts nitric oxide signaling, the chemical that opens up your blood vessels. Without nitric oxide, your penis doesn't get the blood it needs to get hard or stay hard. It's not a willpower problem. It's chemistry. Now here's the part most men never hear from their doctors. The effects of stress on your hormones don't just happen overnight. They accumulate silently, week by week, month by month, until one day you realize you've been more tired, more irritable, and less interested in sex for years. And you never connected the dots. I remember another patient, Mark, age 70, widower, lived alone, started having trouble with erections a year after his wife passed. He thought it was grief, but grief became anxiety. Anxiety became insomnia. And soon his testosterone was lower than a man in his 80s. He didn't need Viagra. He needed peace. It's crazy, he told me, how quiet stress can be until it steals everything. And he's right. Stress doesn't knock on the door. It seeps through the cracks, through a fight with your kids, through bills you can't fix, through memories that won't leave you alone. And when it settles in your nervous system, it hijacks your manhood from the inside. Let's talk about the sympathetic nervous system. This is the on switch for your body, adrenaline, alertness, tension. Great for running from danger. Terrible for sex. Because erections require the parasympathetic system, the rest and relax mode. It's impossible to be tense and aroused at the same time. You can't be both anxious and fully erect. Your body has to choose. And if you're living in a constant state of stress, your nervous system will always pick survival over intimacy. That's why you can have a clean bill of health. No heart disease, no diabetes, no prostate problems, and still feel like your manhood is slipping away. Because stress doesn't show up on a lab test. It shows up in moments you avoid eye contact, in kisses that feel forced, in nights you fake sleep to avoid closeness, and most heartbreaking of all, it shows up in the quiet thought you never say out loud. Maybe I'm just not a man anymore. But let me tell you something right now. That thought is a lie. Stress talking. And stress is treatable. Once George and I got real about what he was carrying, things started to change. He began with one simple habit, 10 minutes of mindful breathing every morning. Not yoga. Not therapy. Just breathing. Inhale 4 counts. Hold. Exhale 8 counts. Repeat. He told me, "Doc, it's weird. I feel calmer, lighter. And last night I woke up with an erection. That hasn't happened in months." That's not magic. That's biology responding to peace. So before we dive into medications, supplements, or performance tricks, we need to look inside. What are you carrying? And more importantly, how long have you been carrying it? In the next part, I'll show you exactly how anxiety and depression reshape your brain, squeeze your blood vessels, and create a feedback loop that makes erections harder and stress worse. But before we go there, take one deep breath. Hold it. Let it out slow. You're not broken. You're just overloaded. And we're going to fix that one layer at a time. Anxiety, depression, and the erection loop. I once asked a patient, "When was the last time you truly felt relaxed?" He looked down, fiddled with his hands, and said, "I can't remember. It's been years." And that answer stuck with me. Because what he described wasn't just stress. It was something deeper. Something that had moved in and unpacked its bags. Anxiety. And eventually depression. Anxiety is not just worry. It's your brain on overdrive. It's constant scanning for threats that may not even exist. And for men over 60, that anxiety often shows up in unexpected ways. You might not call it anxiety. You might just say you feel restless. You can't sleep. Your thoughts are racing. You avoid intimacy because you're afraid it won't work. And the more you fear it, the more it doesn't work. That's the first loop. Fear of failure creates failure. You go to bed hoping everything will go well. But part of you dreads what happens if it doesn't. That dread triggers the stress response. Cortisol rises. Blood vessels constrict. Your penis doesn't get the blood it needs. And the erection falters. Now you're not just disappointed. You're ashamed. You start avoiding sex. You stop touching. You pull away emotionally. And over time, you lose that connection not just with your partner, but with yourself. That's when anxiety turns into depression. And here's the truth. Men don't talk about depression. They live it in silence, in skipped meals, in sitting alone longer than usual, in snapping at people you love, in feeling like nothing matters. And depression has its own chemical effects. It lowers dopamine. It disrupts serotonin. It flattens your mood. It kills libido. And it shuts down the brain pathways responsible for sexual arousal. It's not about being lazy, or unmotivated, or not trying hard enough. It's a neurological shutdown, and it becomes a cycle. Anxiety makes you fear sex. Failure in sex leads to depression. Depression kills desire. Lack of desire leads to shame. And shame brings more anxiety. That's the erection loop I see every week in my office. And the worst part? Most men don't even know they're in it. They blame age. They blame their partner. They blame low testosterone. But when we dig deeper, we find a pattern of emotional burden that's been growing for years. One man told me, "I think I started losing myself when I retired." He wasn't just talking about his job. He was talking about purpose. When he stopped working, he lost structure. He lost affirmation. He lost the small wins that used to make him feel alive. And with that, his confidence crumbled. He stopped exercising. He gained weight. His sleep got worse. And eventually his erections disappeared. But here's the thing. When we addressed his depression first, his body started responding. We didn't go straight to testosterone injections or ED pills. We started with purpose. We built a new routine. We added daily walks. We reconnected him with an old friend. He picked up woodworking again. And slowly the lights came back on. Because your manhood isn't just about blood flow. It's about energy, confidence, joy. When those return, your body follows. So if you've been avoiding sex, if you've stopped feeling aroused, if your mornings are flat and your nights are silent, ask yourself this: am I living or am I just existing? Because erections don't happen in isolation. They're part of a whole system: your body, your mind, your emotions. And when any part is off balance, everything else suffers. But the good news is this: that loop can be broken. And it doesn't always take medication. There are ways to restore dopamine naturally. There are tools to calm anxiety before it ruins your night. There are habits that rebuild confidence without anyone else in the room. And most importantly, you're not alone in this. Thousands of men are dealing with this loop right now. Some silently, some in therapy, some just beginning to realize what's going on. But now you know, and awareness is power. In the next part, I'll give you a clear, science-backed roadmap to get out of this loop. We'll talk about breathing techniques that reset your nervous system, foods that support your brain chemistry, movements that increase blood flow, and mental habits that bring joy back into your life. Because your body hasn't given up on you. It's just been waiting for you to listen. Stress recovery, natural ways to heal and reclaim your manhood. Let me say something that many men never hear. Healing doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't require big gestures, radical diets, or expensive programs. Sometimes, the most powerful changes begin with something as simple as a breath. That's where we start. Because the first thing stress takes away is your breath. It shortens it. It quickens it. It tells your body, we're in danger. And until you change that message, nothing else will shift. I taught George a breathing technique called 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Exhale slowly for 8. Do it for 5 minutes a day. After 2 weeks, he told me, "Doc, I didn't think breathing could make me feel more like a man again." It sounds small, but it's real. Because when you take control of your breath, you take control of your nervous system. You signal to your body, we're safe. You can let go. that activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is essential for sexual arousal. Blood flows better. The heart rate lowers. Muscles relax. And yes, your erections become more reliable. Next, let's talk about food. I'm not here to sell a miracle berry or a testosterone-boosting smoothie. But there are real connections between what you eat and how your brain and body responds to stress. Start with omega-3s, found in fatty fish like salmon or in high-quality fish oil. These help regulate mood, reduce inflammation, and support blood vessel health. They don't just help your heart. They help your manhood. Add magnesium-rich foods, spinach, almonds, dark chocolate. Magnesium calms the nervous system, helps you sleep. And good sleep is when testosterone is built. Limit processed sugars and alcohol. They spike your blood sugar, which crashes your mood. And alcohol, despite being a relaxant, actually reduces sexual performance and lowers testosterone over time. If you treat your body like a system that needs support, not punishment, you'll see results. Now let's move. Not train. Not punish. Just move. I tell my patients, walk like it matters. Because it does. Daily walking increases blood flow. It reduces cortisol. It improves sleep. And it boosts dopamine, your brain's pleasure signal. Add in some pelvic floor exercises. I know it doesn't sound exciting. But simple Kegels, tightening and releasing the muscles you use to stop urination, help control erections. Stronger pelvic muscles mean better control. Better control means more confidence. More confidence means better performance. You're not chasing youth. You're building presence. And presence is what your partner truly wants. Now let's talk about connection. Because stress thrives in isolation. And healing thrives in connection. That doesn't mean you have to talk about your feelings all day. But find someone you trust. A friend. A partner. Even a journal. Start by asking, what am I carrying that I don't need anymore? Write it down. Say it out loud. Or let it go with each exhale. George started having coffee once a week with an old buddy. They didn't talk about emotions. They just laughed. They remembered who they were. And that connection did more for his erections than any pill ever could. Because the body responds to safety. And safety comes from feeling seen, heard, and valued. And finally, reclaim your identity. Not who you were in your 30s. Not who society expects you to be. But the man you want to be now. That might mean fixing something with your hands. Building something from wood. Helping your grandson with math. Teaching someone how to fish. It might mean cooking dinner with music playing. Or walking barefoot on grass. These things sound poetic. But they're not fluff. They are hormonal interventions. They are stress reducers. They are confidence builders. I once had a patient tell me, I thought I needed testosterone. Turns out, I needed to feel like myself again. And that's the heart of it. Your manhood isn't just between your legs. It's in your posture, your breath, your energy, your intention. And when you start living from that place again, your body follows. Your erections return. Your desire reawakens. And your relationships deepen. So if you're tired of pills that don't solve the real issue, if you're tired of pretending you're okay when you're not, try this. Breathe deeply. Eat wisely. Move daily. Connect truthfully. Live purposefully. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to begin. In the final part, I'll wrap this up with one last message I share with every man who sits across from me. A message I hope you carry into the days ahead. A message to every man over 60. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you. Not just for watching, but for having the courage to listen, to reflect, to be honest with yourself. You see, as a urologist, I've treated thousands of men. Some come in with charts and lab results. Others come in with nothing but silence. But behind every visit, there's a question no one dares to ask out loud. Am I still a man if I'm not performing like I used to? And here's my answer. Yes. Absolutely yes. Because manhood was never about performance. It's about presence. It's about how you show up when life gets hard. how you breathe through pain, how you love through change, and how you reclaim yourself after losing your way. Erections matter. They do. But they're not the proof of your worth. They're a reflection of your health, your stress, your connection to life. And the beautiful thing is, those are all things you can work on today, at any age. George reclaimed his manhood not with pills but with patience. Mark found peace not in performance but in connection. And you've already taken the first step. You're here. You're listening. You're willing. So as you go forward, I want you to remember this. You're not broken. You're not too late. And you're not alone. Breathe. Move. Connect. Heal. Repeat. And when the day comes that you feel that spark again, not just in your body but in your spirit, I want you to smile. Not because you're back to normal, but because you've stepped into something better, wiser, stronger, more alive. Leave your thoughts in the comments. If this video helped you, please like and share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning.